Start your week smiling with your friends, Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. It's time to get ready for some weekly motivation with WP Motivate. Happy Friday, Kathy.
Happy Friday, Michelle. My hair is just like whacked today. Been one of those days.
It's either wind tunnel or maybe static electricity, or no, it's that really sexy look. Like you just walk down the runway with the fans going. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. That's our story. Hey, we're sticking to it.
All right, sounds good for me. You have Asia coming up. What, in a few days you're leaving?
Yeah, our flight is at 6:40 a.m. on Monday, which means we have to be at the airport at like 4 a.m. on Monday. So yeah, one of my coworkers lives in Rochester flying with me. So he's coming to my house so he can get my suitcase in my car, and then we'll take my car and park it at the airport for the time that we're gone. But yeah,
How many connecting flights do you have to do?
2. So we connect
that's not
in
bad.
Chicago, and then we connect in, everybody keeps asking me this. I think San Francisco, but maybe LA, California. We connect in California, and then it's a straight shot from there over to Taipei. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be good.
Awesome.
I'm excited.
Wow, so exciting. I will be living vicariously through you and very happy I won't be on a plane all those hours. That's gonna be a long
I'm
flight.
sure. Yeah, for sure. I do get a little bit of travel anxiety, not so much being on the plane, but being a plus size disabled person on a plane is very like, until I'm like seated and I know that everybody around me is comfortable with me and where I am. And then also not drinking anything on the plane so I don't have to get up and use the bathroom. Other than, and once I get there, I'm like, shoo, okay, we're good.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
can't even imagine.
the little things, it's all good.
Oh, but it'll be worth it. You're going to
Oh,
see so many old friends, new friends.
yeah.
Everybody's going to be there celebrating you and your new role as executive director. Can I say that here?
You
As executive
can.
director of Post Status. I am so happy for you. I'm not
Thank
just happy
you.
for you, though. I'm happy for all of WordPress because I feel
Aw.
like, well, first of all, you've been kind of executive director. I almost said ED, but then that goes into erectile dysfunction. And then my brain just kind of just like, stop right
I don't know,
there.
maybe I
Don't.
paused that once or twice in my life. I don't know. No comments. And but now we're gonna know who really does listen to the show, because they're gonna be like, oh, Michelle.
Oh my God.
Oh.
But
I've been doing a lot of the work that Corey has kind of passed on to me over the course of the last few months. And so, he's like, hey, I want to really go do something else, maintain ownership of it. So he's still, retaining ownership of Post Status.
yeah.
And we do have some partners in there now, like Yost and Marika and Mike Klonick. And so like we're a leadership team, but I have been promoted to the face of Post Status. So I'm excited about it and just welcome people's, connections and all of the above. I'm very excited. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
It's good for WordPress, I think.
Thank you.
It's good for the Post Status community. I'm excited for you and
Yeah.
just so anytime your work is recognized is something that I will celebrate. So
You
congratulations.
are the best. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I think the same for you. So I
Yeah.
know we're just like the Mutual Admiration Society when we get together, you and me.
Yeah, of course.
I love
Well,
it. I love
hey,
it. We support each
gotta
other.
stay
And I
motivated.
exactly. Oh yeah, to bring it back to the podcast title. That is motivating, isn't it? You're so good at that. You must be in marketing.
Something like that. Yeah. I pretend
Oh,
on TV that I'm in marketing.
well, you and I
And
were
by
talking.
night,
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I
Oh,
was
so
just
you
gonna say bye.
by night.
By night, I am security. Like I'm still
Oh
get like
yeah.
all excited about all this security stuff. So I'm like marketing and all this like leadership stuff. I was joking though that like my black turtleneck that I've been wearing for videos because it's like very nondescript, very
Yeah.
professional. I don't have to worry about it. It's just like, all right, record a video. Here's my Steve Jobs shirt. Like we'll talk about leadership. Put the Steve Jobs shirt on. Here we go.
But I feel like
Here
you
I
probably
go.
put on a black hoodie and work in the dark when you're like unhacking websites, right? So I mean that's the look for that.
Yeah, yeah, little bit. I don't know. So I'm still like super into like hacker culture and stuff, and I was reading all of these stories about this social engineering thing that happened where this red team hacker, like a penetration tester, like got into this company just by like walking in, sat down at a meeting and said, sorry, I'm late, hooked up the laptop to the network, basically hacked everything. And
Oh
then
my
while
word.
he was hacking everything, was asking questions in the meeting. Well, would you have you considered this?
Oh
Like,
my
he's hacking them,
gosh.
but at the same time sitting in a
Oh,
meeting with a expired visitor's badge that he had gotten out of a garbage can. It was just like such a cool story. I don't
holy
know. So that's
cow.
my like that's like my alter ego, my
Talk
nighttime.
about your fake it till you make it. Goodness.
Yeah, oh, I love those
Right?
stories
I
so
know.
much because it's
A couple years ago there was a story of an artist who there I can't remember where it was, so y'all forgive me, but there was a highway where it was very unclear of when you're supposed to change lanes to get off and those kinds of things. And everybody always said we need a sign there. So this guy like went out, took pictures, took measurements, like when he would drive by, that kind of stuff, and figured out what size the sign should be, what the colors, like he did research on what colors are the real colors of that state's signs. And he created a sign that would direct traffic better, like that, like people needed to have there. He put on,
oh
like, he got the outfit, like, the hard hat and the orange vest and the traffic cones, and he got the lift, the lifting truck, whatever, the bucket, I don't know words. The bucket truck or whatever, the cherry picker, I think they call him. And he actually installed the sign on the overpass of a busy highway. And for him, it was an art installation to see if he could actually do it. And
yeah.
like eventually, like the actual traffic control or whatever of that city got wind of it and were like, they took it down, but they actually eventually replaced it with a real sign that did the same thing. But he got away with it for a while until like people are like,
Wow.
when did that go up, So yeah, fake it till you make it. Wear the
Interesting.
badge, put on the hoodie, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Hacking for good. That's what I think.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before about coming from humble beginnings. It's funny because I
Yeah.
saw this meme. I don't know. Is a meme always funny or is a meme just like imagery? I don't know. But
Could be.
there was a photo and it was like where Microsoft started. It's a picture of like the garage that they worked in. Another
Yeah.
one was like where Amazon started, and it was, and where Walt Disney started, and it's like this shack and whatever. And I'm like, a lot of us were not born with silver spoons in our mouths. A lot of us did not have grandiose beginnings, and some of us that were born with less didn't necessarily know it. I was telling you about how I didn't really know we didn't have less growing up. But I look back on it and I was like, damn, I was a teenager before we actually ordered a pizza instead of making pizza from a box. I didn't know what real cheese on a pizza tasted like.
Oh
It
no.
was like
Oh
sawdusty cheese
no.
out of a little tear the foil packet open kind of fake Parmesan cheese on top of it. And my mom would take like a half a pound or less than that probably of ground beef and brown it up on the stove and then put that on the pizza and bake up the pizza. And as kids, we were like, that was what pizza was to us. So we thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then like you go to a friend's house and they're like, oh, we ordered a pizza. You're like, that's not what pizza's supposed to look like.
What is this sorcery? Like, what is this magic? You call someone and they bring you food that's already made?
And like casseroles, like if I make a casserole now, like it's got good meat and like all the components. Like when we were growing up, it was Hamburger Helper. It was like tear open
Yeah.
that box, buy your hamburger, throw it all in a pan. I bought that once as an adult because I had good memories of it as a child, and I was like, this is a skillet full of salt. Like literally, the whole
Yeah.
flavor is just salt.
Yeah.
I think my ankle swelled for like a week after I did it. But humble beginnings are okay. It's okay. And it's okay not to have everything you want. And
Yeah.
it's okay to want more for sure. And to find ways to build your life to attain those things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drink my tea. I want to hear your humble beginnings.
Yeah. Well, my beginnings were kind of weird. So I always thought we were rich. Um, my mom came from very humble. She was the oldest girl of 11 and she lived
Mm.
on a farm, in a farmhouse that had actual 3 bedrooms with 13 people living in it.
That's pretty cramped.
She shared a bed with my aunt. And of course, the aunt that, their entire lives they hate each other, right? Like, of course, they shared a bed. So that was just like, they're never going to get along. Very humble beginnings. My dad's side of the family, though, my grandfather was quite much older. He sold adding machines during the Great Depression. Like, he was born in the
Mm.
1800s, like, and died
Mm.
the year before I was born. And so he started a business and was like very successful, very popular name in town. And so my mom marries up, she thinks, right?
Right?
But that shit crazy. Oh, we
Oh,
there
no.
lots of alcoholism on that side of the
Yeah.
family, and so like lots of chaos, and my dad was hardly ever home. But I like look back at the house we like grew up in, and like it was, there were 1.5 bathrooms. There were me and my 2 brothers and my mom and dad, and the chaos. I think that was another family member. Like, took up a lot of space, but it was like a 1,600 square foot house. Like, how did we, like, it was a 2-bedroom house. When my brother came along, they built on an addition, and then
Yeah.
they thought it was going to be a girl, and that I was going to room with this new child, but it came out as a boy. And so then I got my brother's room that was like all like, it was built for a boy, and so I had
Yeah.
like the boys room, right? It was crazy. But I always thought we were rich. We're not. We were not, because there was just like so much cat, but I thought we were rich. My dad had his own business. He
Mm-hmm.
drove a fancy-ish car, but my mom would get the hand-me-down crappy car, and there was never any money. So money was how my parents fought.
Mm.
Sorry, mom and dad, if you're watching this. They're probably not. I don't know. Probably my dad's probably watching Gunsmoke, and my mom is probably watching some kind of like conspiracy video. I don't know. They're not watching me.
Well,
I
we know
know
my
that.
dad's not watching.
There goes that dark humor again.
Gotta
Well, my mom would act poor, so
love
we
it.
had to do the powdered milk, and she'd serve it to my
Oh,
dad because he would like
yes.
spend all of his money. Like, he'd go out drinking with his friends and spend all the money
Yep.
and live life the way he wanted, and she's stuck home with the kids and mad about it, right? So we would have to drink. I would get mad. I'm like, I'm not drinking powdered milk. It's coming out of a real cow. I don't want this stuff. I don't know what it is. No space age milk. I'm not drinking it. And so I'd throw my fit. My dad would then be like, what the heck's wrong with you? Where's the money I gave? And so there was wars
Mm.
about money.
Yeah.
And so we ate really poor. And then my mom would go grocery shopping. She'd go grocery shopping, and then she'd buy all this food. And then like we'd all just be like, oh, it's like the only food we've had for like 2 weeks.
3 days later, she's like, "Where's the food I bought?" Right? Yeah.
We ate it all because we weren't sure if we were ever going to eat again. And my brothers were eating faster than me, so I wanted to have my cut, right? So it was like so chaotic about like having resources, but I always thought we were rich. And I look back on it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
how did I think like there was something about me though? I thought we were rich. I thought we were
Yeah.
really rich, but we definitely weren't. And we definitely,
Same.
and the
Well,
only time we would ever get a pizza, a carry out pizza, there was one place in town that was like the best pizza around. Still, I have never had a pizza quite so good. But my dad would bring it home, and he would eat most of it. And if we were
mhm.
lucky, we got the corner pieces that he didn't want. So it was
Oh,
like my dad's life, and then all of us just like
you're
looking
like,
for
wow,
scraps,
that pizza smelled good.
anything. And then he'd bring home like he loved like Dr. Pepper and like this really fancy cheese and Eskimo pies. And he'd bring those
Mm.
home. Well, those didn't last. My brothers and I were just like, food? Dr.
Right.
Pepper's? Oh my gosh. And so then we'd go and raid his stash, and he would get like infuriated at us. But yeah, like it wasn't until I was much older that I realized, like, oh my gosh, that was like a war of resources. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
it's
I
really
learned how
interesting.
to deal with nothing.
You have to at some points,
Yeah.
right? If you don't have anything, you learn to be resourceful for sure. There are things that as you get older, you took for truth the whole time you were
Yeah.
growing up. And there is a
Yeah.
point in time as an adult where you go, hey, wait a minute. So let me tell you some of mine.
Yeah.
Andy's candies. You know those little just tiny mint wrapped mints that that you get at like Olive Garden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mother would buy those for herself and tell us they were very expensive. So we only could have one. So she could eat the rest of the box, right? And I don't know how long it took. I don't know if she ate it in a day or if she ate it over a month. I have no clue. But we weren't allowed to touch the expensive candies. Now, there was a point as an adult when I went to the store and I was like, I'm going to treat myself today. And I went to the candy aisle and I was like, oh, I wonder how expensive Andy's candies are. I'm like, $1.50 or whatever it was, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not that was just her way of like I'm not sharing, right? And or she'd
Yeah.
buy chunky because it had raisins in it. We didn't like raisins, so she'd get to eat the whole thing and not have to share with her kids, kind of thing. For sure. But my favorite story of like that moment of realization, I may have told you this story before. I was a teenager before I thought to myself, my dad lied. Because when we were kids, no, kids don't want to eat vegetables, right? Like, I love vegetables now. And my daughter grew up loving vegetables because I didn't try
Yeah.
to tell her she had to eat them. I encouraged her to try things and whatever. Plus, my mother doused everything in butter, which I don't care for. But my dad, when we were little, like if we didn't want to eat our broccoli, he'd say, are you kidding me? Do you know that they make chocolate out of broccoli? Like that. Do you know where chocolate comes from? It comes from broccoli. I was
Okay,
like
really, Martha.
14. I know, right? I was 14 and I was eating broccoli. No, I was in college. Like we had broccoli. Like my roommate and I are sitting in the dining hall. We got broccoli, and I'm like, "Hey, did you know that chocolate comes from?" She goes, "What?" I go, "Never mind." Like
Oh my gosh.
my dad lied, and he also told us that cauliflower tasted like popcorn. So like when he tells you that, you think that, and you eat it, and yet looked a little bit like a popcorn kernel. It didn't taste like it though, but I was
Kinda.
convinced it did until about that same time. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Too funny.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. My goodness, the things. And then I was telling you this before we started recording, like we had our favorite dessert. Like if somebody said to you, what's your favorite dessert? It's like people say like cheesecake or creme brulee or like
Yeah.
all of these decadent kind of things. Ours was what my mother called butter sugar bread because she would take a piece of white bread, slather some butter on it, sprinkle some white sugar on it, and be like, here's your dessert. And we would eat it like it was the most amazing food on the planet. And again,
Yeah.
I was an adult and I was like, oh man, I bet that would taste good today. So I slather some butter on a piece of bread. I like douse it in like the white sprinkle the white sugar on it. I took a bite and I was like, why am I eating congealed butter? But
Yeah.
sugar, like
Oh
that
my
first
gosh.
bite was enough to convince me that I don't want this. I don't want
Yeah.
this. It's like I threw that piece
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. 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 I've kind of got this attitude now that every calories got to fight for its life in my world. Like if it's
There there must be a
if
purpose.
there must be a purpose to it at this point. I am not going to waste my if it's got to be good. It's got to
Yeah.
either give me pleasure or it's got to, have some kind of nutrient that I need, but I'm
Hmm.
just no, like I can't even eat fast food anymore. It's just like,
Yeah,
well, first of all, have you seen the prices of fast food? It's ridiculous now.
it
And
is.
so like there's nothing that I can't go through like a drive-through and say, okay, that's worth it to me. Like, no.
Hmm.
Although every year once I do get
Hmm.
a Shamrock shake this time of year.
Did
Just
you ever get
one.
it? Do you ever ask them to do half chocolate, half shamrock shake?
Ooh, no. Is that a
'Cause
thing?
most places will do it, and then like you stir it with your straw, and it's like mint chocolate.
Like the Andes candies.
Mm. Well, now you ruined that for me. No, I'm kidding.
You should bring one to your mom and just say, remember those Andes candies? Well, I was thinking about you.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, you could look back and you could say, my parents lied, right? Like at 18 years old, when I realized that chocolate was not made from broccoli, I was like, my dad lied to me. But now that I'm an adult and I've raised a child of my own who's an adult, I think back and I think, my parents were being resourceful. They were making do with what they had
Yeah.
and making sure their kids felt like they were loved and that they felt like they were treated and, supplied, what's the word? Provided for, supplied to. Think of words,
Yeah.
provided for, and all of those kinds of things. And I think of the little white lies like that I told my daughter growing up. I didn't do much of that because I really wanted her to make her own decisions growing up. But
Yeah.
there were things that I would say to her that or give her permission to do. Like, I think I told you before, she would come to me and she'd be on the phone. Remember when we had phones plugged into the wall? So she would come to me on
Hmm.
the phone and she'd say, Mom, can I go to Katie's house? I think I told you that, right? Can I go to Katie's house for overnight? Katie invited me overnight, but she'd be shaking her head no, like, please say no, please say no. And I'd be like, oh, sorry, Lydia, I really need you first thing in the morning. So, you can't go tonight, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
sometimes little white lies are okay, I guess, in those kind of situations when they really are
Yeah.
to not hurt a person like that. But
Yeah.
yeah. Humble beginnings, man.
Humble beginnings. Yeah. Chaotic beginnings. I'm kind of shocked I don't know,
Yes.
that I came out the way I did, I guess. Well, years of therapy too, but learned
I
a
mean,
lot.
here I
Definitely
sit
learned a lot.
here we sit like as productive citizens of the United States and not in prison. So I mean there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Jeez.
who
Yeah. Had
knew?
to learn things. Had to learn things too young, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's I was, obviously prices of a lot of things have gone up and wages haven't, in a lot of cases where people are having to kind of learn that the American dream isn't exactly what has been sold to them,
Hmm.
and that they have to go through that and learn ways of making do with less, or making do with um, learning how to grow their own food, having to
Hmm.
find some inner resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And I think that's good,
Hmm.
like my kids, like they come up with harebrained ideas, like lots of, hey, I'm going to start this online business. We've gone through about 4,000 of those, and I'm every single one of them. I'm like, yep, you can do it. You can do it. Here's WordPress. What's this customizer? Yeah, all the same things.
Oh
Um,
yeah. My daughter's never logged into her WordPress website, by the way. Yeah.
really, yeah. Well, I figured they should learn this stuff. I think it's
Yeah.
important, right? And so I'm not going to do it for them. If they want to start an online business, you've got to figure out all the hard stuff and
Yeah.
marketing and all of this stuff. And it it creates resourcefulness. It creates an ability to say, I can do this, to set a goal and say, I'm going to make this happen no matter what. And when you don't think you can do it, like when you don't think you're going to have the resources to put food on the table, to be able to find out that you can, and that there is abundance in this world, and you can
Mhm.
go a night without having like a big huge dinner, and that it's going to be pasta and peas for a couple of nights. Plenty of times I've done that. My
Yeah.
son, because when we lived in Shasta, we lived very, very close to nature and very much homesteady type of thing. My son is like mortified that we drank out of mason jars. Like that's his big thing. Because now he lives in Minnesota, and he's like, I thought it was just like that's what people did. And I do that. And my friends make fun of me. Why did we do that? And I'm like, because they were there, and
That's what we
I
had.
still like, if I get a mason jar and wash it out, recycle it, throw it in the cabinet, and it's a glass. Like, am I
Yeah, I
weird?
mean,
It's just like,
no. It's trendy actually. At least it was 3 years
that's what
ago.
I
I
was
don't know.
trying to say.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's shabby chic, right? But my son
Yes.
is mortified that we drink out of mason jars.
Well, just, tell them it's better than a red Solo cup. I don't know.
At least you had water.
That's
Ingrate.
right. We had to drink from the hose and it tasted like heat
Exactly.
and rubber.
It did. And somehow we survived. This is why when there's a nuclear war, Gen Xers are gonna be the ones sticking around and all the rest of
We
you
are
punks.
the original
Yeah.
latchkey kids.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Totally. Oh my gosh, so much so.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know, I have now. I'm not saying I'm rich because I'm not, but I don't struggle like I did when my daughter was younger, trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to pay a bill or am I going to have money to grocery shop this week and things like that. And I'm grateful for the resourcefulness that my parents taught me when I was younger because it did get me through tough times. And there's nothing to say that another week or two, I couldn't be back in tough times. Like you just never
Yeah.
know, right? Like
Yeah.
there've been I'm not suggesting that I'm going to lose my job. I'm not. But we've seen so many people get laid off over the last year and a
Yeah.
half that have gone from a place of abundance to searching for jobs and having to be resourceful. And I feel
Yeah.
just grateful that I grew up learning that resourcefulness so that if I'm ever in that situation again, I know how to make do with pasta and peas. And I don't even like peas. So for me, it would be something else. But that's the whole idea, right? Like I have eaten my fair share of tuna sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly. I've had my fair
Mac and
share of like
cheese.
mac and cheese from a box, powdered milk. We grew up with it too. Like all of those things that you just wonder, like you look back on it now and like I had almost forgotten some of it. And then to drag that back up into my brain and think, I could, like I said, you could be mad that your parents lied to you all those years or whatever, or you could just be grateful that they were still providing for you and teaching you that it's okay not to have. Like my daughter didn't have a Game Boy. Every one of her friends growing up had a Game Boy. She's never once
Yeah.
said to me, why didn't you get me a Game Boy? Because she knew I didn't have the resources as a single mom to, provide dinner, pay for dance classes, and, you know, get a Game Boy.
Yeah. You
But I
make
will
your
tell you,
choices.
you do. And it's funny, somebody asked yesterday online, have you ever bartered web services, like web design? For anything. And I forgot about the dance classes, but I've bartered for massage, I've bartered for catering, I've bartered for cookies and food and that kind of stuff. And I've bartered with restaurants for gift certificates. Like I have bartered like crazy. And then I just remember like my very first website ever, one of them, I built a website and I sat at the desk of the dance school so my daughter could take dance classes. And all I have to pay for that year was her dance um, costumes, and even that was a stretch for me, right? But you do what you
Yeah.
have to provide for the people that you want to
Yeah.
provide for. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we have resourceful
Exactly.
kids because of it. So
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Both of my kids are extremely resourceful
Yeah.
and very aware of like what it takes in order to make a dollar.
Yeah. I mean, they'll probably go to
Claire more
therapy and
now than
complain
she
about
did.
us. They'll go to therapy and
Yeah.
complain about us like we want to with
You
our
know,
parents.
I told them when
That's
they were
part of it.
younger, I said, if you're not in therapy by the time you're 18, I've done something wrong. I expect to screw you up somehow because that's what parents do.
We're not
Even if I
perfect.
give you too much, then you're going to go to therapy. If I don't give you enough, you're going to go to therapy. There's no like middle ground. So
Yeah.
just go to therapy. It's a good thing. And now my son is like, I think he's going to grow up to be a therapist because he's like so good at like, okay, now imagine the emotion is not inside of you, but it's outside of you. What does it look like? I'm like,
Where does that come
you're
from?
pulling it. It's coming from
Yeah.
the therapy that he's had to go through,
Exactly.
that he's figured out like coping mechanisms for
Yeah.
dealing with difficult emotions. So if I'm going through stuff, he pulls out the therapy card on me and is
Yeah.
just like, now where's this emotion? And just like, it's going to be like in your face if you try to do the therapy on me right now. Just let me be mad. Let me
Well,
be mad.
let me tell you a funny anecdote. So my daughter, at some point when she was a teen, is when like the Gilmore Girls came out, and she's like,
Mhm.
"Mom, I think that you and we're Lorelai and Rory." And I was like, "That is so sweet," because we had a close relationship, whatever. And then last year, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I was like, "Oh, that's how I fucked her up." We're both like we are
Yeah.
Lorelai and Rory, and also like this person who's just like raging against her mother because of whatever it was that I did. So there
Yeah.
is no perfect parent, and you can look back and see all the good and all the bad and hope that you still have a decent relationship in spite of the butter sugar bread and the
Oh, yeah.
Appian Way pizza in a box.
And the fake milk. Yeah.
And the fake milk
We we survived.
and the Kool-Aid that never had quite enough sugar in it, so it was always just a little bit bitter. like like my friends' moms would make Kool-Aid and it was the canister that was already pre-sugared and they'd measure it out. It was super sweet. Ours was the package you tore open and you had to add your own sugar to, which meant
Yep.
never quite enough sugar. So, but you know, we still drank it. We lived. Oh, fun stuff. Fun stuff.
So much.
Anyway, so next week I get to try food that I've never tried before when I'm in
Yeah.
Taiwan and Taipei, and I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to it. Boba tea, I guess, is originated there. So Shusei Toda said, we got to sit down and have some boba together. I was like, I would love that. I'll let you order for
Awesome.
me because I have no clue what I'm doing over there. But really looking forward to it.
Fun.
And when I asked Lydia what did she want me to bring back for her, her answer is always candy. She wanted Thai candy. She bought candy in Greece. She wants candy from June in a meeting this morning with for WP Accessibility Day. I was telling her that, and she said, "Oh, it's make sure you get Kit Kats. They have the weirdest flavors of Kit Kats over there because she used to live there."
Really?
She said, "And anything cherry blossom flavor." I said, "All right, that's what I'll
Oh,
do." So
fun.
yeah, so
I'm
it'll be
excited.
good.
I
I am
can't wait
too.
to follow along. You're going to have a great time. I'm so
I'll be
glad you get to
posting
go.
pictures. Thank you.
You're speaking, right?
I
You
am.
speaking?
Mhm.
Awesome.
I'm speaking opposite Tim Ferriss, so I will be speaking to a mostly empty room. That's okay. I am really looking forward. I joke. I'm sure there will be people sitting in my room, but
Yeah.
I'm sad to miss his talk, but I'll be able to see everything on WordPress TV at some point, so that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Cool.
cool.
Well, I hope you have a great time.
Thank you.
So
And for everybody
we
else,
won't
we
have
won't. Yeah, we won't have a recording next week because even if we were going to try to record, we're going to be like opposite times of the day while I'm gone. So
Yeah.
we'll skip a week and we'll see y'all the next week after that. But yeah, thanks for listening to us laugh. We had a lot of fun today.
Bye.
Anyway, bye. This has been WP Motivate with Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. To learn more or to sponsor us, go to WPMotivate.com.